Following up on the last video on this channel, talking about the anti-Trump lawsuit that backfired, Ocasio-Cortez may be in violation of the First Amendment, we see this story. Trump calls for boycott of AT&T over CNN coverage. Let's read through this. There's some criticism and some other points I'll bring up in terms of conservatives actually trying to bring about a boycott of some sort. But Trump might actually not be allowed to directly call for a boycott necessarily. It could potentially run afoul of the First Amendment, but I'm not entirely sure. So earlier today, I made a video. Ocasio-Cortez has been banning people on Twitter. And she's actually not allowed to do that because many people sued Trump, and then Trump lost. The lawsuit stated that Trump can't block people. Basically, he's creating public forums. The same applies for any public figure. But Ocasio-Cortez had a series of tweets where she implied big tech firms would be banning people for bigotry and disinformation. So she didn't go as far as to say, do it, because I don't know if she can. I wonder to what extent Trump could get in trouble if he did say do it. But let's read the story first. From the Epoch Times. Trump calls for boycott of AT&T over CNN coverage. President Donald Trump on June 3rd called for a boycott of AT&T in order to force the corporation to overhaul its subsidiary CNN. The president made the remarks on Twitter as he traveled for a state visit to London. Trump had just criticized CNN a day earlier for taking his remarks about a member of the royal family out of context. Just arrived in the United Kingdom. The only problem is that CNN is the primary source of news available from the US. After watching it for a short while, I turned it off. All negative and so much fake news. Very bad for US. Big ratings drop. Why doesn't owner AT&T do something? I believe that if people stopped using or subscribing to AT&T, they would be forced to make big changes at CNN, which is dying in the ratings anyway, Trump added. It is so unfair with such bad fake news. Why wouldn't they act? When the world watches CNN, it gets a false picture of USA. Sad. I don't know if there needs to be a boycott of anybody to make CNN do anything. CNN is collapsing. And Trump points this out, right? They're collapsing ratings. Now, the other thing is, on a technicality point, Trump didn't actually call for a boycott. Nowhere did he say, I want you, go do X, etc., right? He said, I believe that if people did, and that's the important distinction, it's the same thing Ocasio-Cortez did. My God, I call her left-wing Trump all the time. But Ocasio-Cortez didn't, in her tweet, say big tech companies should do this. They said some companies choose to do this. Tweet in response celebrating what you like about it or what you think they should be doing. So it was very much like companies that don't do it are bad. Companies that do it are good. And that's how, in my opinion, she gets around running afoul of the First Amendment. But courts might still disagree. Now, Trump is a bigger target than Ocasio-Cortez. But as we've seen, the lawsuits that affect Trump are now impacting Ocasio-Cortez. She has no right to block people on social media. And I believe, well, I don't want to say too much, but she is running afoul of the First Amendment, at least as it pertains to the lawsuit and the appeals from Trump. They go on to say, AT&T acquired CNN in June 2018 as part of its $85 billion purchase of assets from Time Warner. Trump has frequently criticized CNN for airing virtually nonstop coverage, casting his presidency in a negative light. And as I highlighted in my video on my main channel, 92% of cable news coverage of Trump has been negative. On June 2nd, the president took another jab at the network, calling out CNN's reporting on comments he made about Princess Meghan Markle. CNN reported on comments Trump made to The Sun in response to learning that Markle had called him divisive and misogynistic during the 2016 presidential campaign. Markle was one of a number of celebrities who said they would move to Canada if Trump won, but didn't follow through on the promise. I didn't know that. What can I say? I didn't know that she was nasty, Trump said, according to The Sun. However, he said, it is nice that she joined the royal family. I am sure she will do excellently. She will be very good. I hope she does succeed. The president wrote on Twitter that he never actually said Markle was nasty. According to a study by the Media Research Center, yes, they talk about how Trump cable news, it's 92%, but we'll skip through this. Representatives for AT&T did not immediately respond to a request for comment. In a lineup of cable news channels, CNN ranked 12th for the week of May 20th to 26th, below channels like the Discovery Channel, Home and Garden TV, and the History Channel. Fox News ranked first, with nearly triple the viewers of CNN. In total daily viewership, CNN lost 7% of its viewers since last year, according to Adweek. Wow, CNN ratings are way down, record lows, Trump wrote on Twitter on May 23rd. People are getting tired of so many fake stories and anti-Trump lies. Chris Cuomo was rewarded for lowest morning ratings with a primetime spot. which is failing badly and not helping the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. I don't want to call Don Lemon dumb, but I will call Don Lemon wrong, and I will always point out, please, Don Lemon, is his full name Donald? Donald Lemon once did a segment where he asked a guest if a black hole could have swallowed an airplane. I'm not exaggerating. He literally did that. And the woman responded by saying, even a small black hole will swallow the whole universe. Okay. Why this man is still on TV, I have no idea. But after something like that, is there any surprise their ratings are down? Look, I get it. You cannot like Fox News because of their political opinions. You can claim they're lying. But they're not telling people that a black hole could possibly swallow an airplane. Please, what is wrong at CNN? They can't understand this. The story says the president has previously declined to answer CNN during news conferences and has had a number of heated exchanges with CNN's White House correspondent Jim Acosta. The White House temporarily revoked Acosta's press pass after Acosta refused to give up a microphone and brushed aside a female aide who tried to retrieve it. Well, the Trump administration hasn't actually done a press conference in a really, really long time. It's my understanding. But there's an interesting thing here because, first, Trump didn't directly call for a boycott. Not literally, but I believe his intention was to encourage people to push that boycott. Trump knows he can't tell you, go and do this, so he's being like, here's an idea. What would happen if someone did this? And then people go and do it. And he can say, I never told him to do it. We get it. But there are other people who I've been hearing some murmurings in some conservative circles about people calling for a boycott of certain products because of their support for extremists. More specifically is Verizon. So for those who aren't familiar, the Huffington Post is owned by Verizon Communications. They bought it. They bought AOL on May 12th, 2015. I am no one to boycott. I don't care for boycotts. But there has been some murmuring that conservatives are planning some kind of boycott of various products because Huffington Post is what I would call a news outlet that maximizes harm. So for those that aren't familiar, one of the core tenets of journalism, like ethics, is minimizing harm. And so I'll give you a good example of how you minimize harm. Let's say there's an individual, John Smith. John Smith is part of a group of people who are very dangerous. You know that John Smith is primarily doing business through Chase Bank. You reach out to Chase Bank, and in order to minimize harm, you say, Chase, there is a person affiliated with this group that is facilitated by your, bank. Is it against policy? What are your views on this particular group? Now, that even could still be presenting harm because you're naming the group specifically. If you want to truly minimize harm, you'd say something like, there are many groups that support these specific ideologies, and some of them are actually using your service. Is it against your policies? What would you say? And then the bank won't know what you're talking about except for the ideas, and you can present your story. We found these groups of people using this service, and there you go. It's still not perfect, but what do the journalists do? What does CNN and Huffington Post do? They maximize harm. It's the inverse of the actual ethic. They call a company and say, did you know that person X is associated with these things and they're using your service? And then the business, it removes those people. That maximizes the harm to those you are covering. It is not the role of a journalist to make sure the person they're doing, the subject of their story is destroyed or has their life ruined. That is maximizing harm. Because of this, people want to take it out of Verizon. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I don't care for boycotts. I understand they may work in some regard, but, look at this. Huffington Post, created by Andrew Breitbart. I did not know that. That's not real. Is that real? That's not real. Wait, the Huffington Post was launched on May 9th, 2005 as a commentary outlet blog and an alternative to news aggregators like such as Drudge, founded by Ariana Huffington, Andrew Breitbart. Wow. I did not know that. Hey, you learn something every day. But I do want to end with this. This tweet that I saw from Citizens for Ethics, they responded to Trump's AT&T tweet by saying, how have we gotten to the point where the president of the United States is openly trying to get American businesses to fail to prevent a news network from accurately reporting what he says and does? I don't know much about what this organization is. Their high-impact legal actions target government officials who sacrifice the common good for special interests. Sure. I would say it's a good point. Trump shouldn't be doing this, and I think he's dancing on the razor's edge here. So is Ocasio-Cortez, and I'd love to see the Citizens for Ethics call out what she did when she implied she wants big business to censor people. Okay, that shouldn't be the role of a government official to stop critics, because Cortez, she blocks her critics. She's not supposed to do that. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. For those listening on the podcast, you can just leave a review and stick around. I've got some more segments coming up shortly.